Finally, a housing story worth reading that gets to the point, and it's coming from our friends over at Better Dwelling. So people ask me, Mike, you're not doing too many housing. It's all under the same umbrella, and that's why we're covering everything on Mike in the Night. It's all either a conspiracy, it's an economic takeover. You try to explain people the housing market or what's happening, they look at you like you got something growing out of the side of your head. So let's take a look at what Better Dwelling has to tell us today. Canadian real estate prices are overvalued by 91%. 91% says Moody's. And yes, it is. Now let's go to a little bit of history on the channel. This is from 5-6 years ago. Housing bubble, would it burst in Canada? This is 2016. Look at this, videos from Vancouver is now in a housing bubble from 5-6 years ago. Empty homes in Vancouver. Hold on. Vancouver housing, illusion or fact? Let's keep going. 15% foreign buyers tax. That was in 2017. Canadian banks favor foreign home buyers. Vancouver, London, and housing bubble. Will it crash? Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Housing bubble. Vancouver housing bubble. People forced into homelessness. So it just keeps going on. Housing market. Property tax hike. Mass exodus of young families 5 years ago. This is when I was living in Vancouver. I moved out and I said, you know what? I am not dealing with this. So there it is right there. We've been talking about this housing affordability in decline. It just keeps going. Look, housing bubble won't burst. It just keeps going on and on and on and on. Economies becoming more dependent. Which economies? Australia, New Zealand, UK, Canada, and all the blue states in America have been fighting for money laundering. Canada would be in a recession without money laundering. That's in there too. You can look it up across my channel. I think I'm making this up. This has been a massive issue. Wages have not kept up. Nowhere near to what housing levels are at right now. Why? Well, laundered money came in. Fentanyl sales were sold from factories in China. Well, it's not coming from China anymore because the chemicals are being brought from China to Mexico. Now they're coming from Mexico from China, you know. So it's all coordinated, right? So and it's just destroying the youth on our streets, and homes empty everywhere. And the reason why they never shut down the fentanyl distribution in these countries, in the English-speaking countries, and opioid and all these problems, is because it will take away from reinvestment into real estate and housing and leaving it empty. So check out my channel. I've been saying it for years before fake housing shortage. Let's scrap the foreign buyers tax. I'm out of here. Look at that. I'm leaving Vancouver. So let's go into today's story. 91%. That's actually being cute. I think it's actually, somebody asked me, I thought it was 94%. That's just me. So Canadian real estate is very overvalued. According to massive credit agency Moody's Analytics released its Canadian real estate model this week. The firm's model shows markets are overvalued by 91% across the country. As disastrous as that sounds, the firm isn't expecting a big housing crash. The baseline model shows low to no price growth as mortgage rates rise. So mortgage rates will be rising, guys. I said it the other day on another show, and I was told that I was like, no, they're not going to go up. They wouldn't do that to people. They would do that to people because they have to. Higher mortgage rates will drag Canadian home prices. Canadian residential real estate prices are massively overvalued, but aren't expected to fall. The firm's latest models show urban markets have deviated 22.59% above the trends of Q2 2021. This is a huge overvaluation, but the firm doesn't expect home prices to fall at a national level, at least in its nominal terms, with a few regional except. So what is it exactly they're talking about? Well, they're talking about Toronto and Vancouver and surrounding areas now. People have mass exodus those areas, in which we talked about on the other channel 5 years ago, that was happening. Is and the brain drain and people's, you know, mentality, thoughts, and production is gone, right? So there it is, and that's why, and those cities will be the ones on the hook, the biggest, because the locals that bought in the last 3 or 4 years will be on the hook, holding the bag. They'll have to forfeit, and then foreign investors and foreign companies will come up and buy those these homes. We're not going to experience a crash in Canada like America did in 07, 08. It wasn't a real crash; it was a partial crash. But a lot of people in the lower blue collar, middle class and upper middle class and poor lost everything, while the rich stayed richer, right? So higher mortgage rates are expected to grind growth to a standstill. Urban prices are forecasted to grow 2.62%. So Toronto real estate is 40% overvalued. The Toronto real estate is massively overvalued at these levels, but no crash in forecast. Home prices are 39.5% above the trend of Q2 2021, almost double the national numbers. Over the next year, prices are forecasted to grow 0.68%, followed by a 0.05 decline in the first year after. No, you read that right. It's strangely precise forecast of virtual no drop in the last year. When do we start to see bailouts? Vancouver real estate is 23% to overvalue. I want to beg to differ on that. It's a lot more than that. Unfortunately, Vancouver doesn't have the infrastructure that Toronto, Calgary, and other Edmonton and other cities in Winnipeg. Vancouver is limited. The mountains are behind, the water's in the front, and we got the American borders to the south. There's very limited space. The infrastructure is terrible. If you've driven around in Vancouver or had to get to other cities, I would rather drive from downtown Detroit to Atlanta in 8 or 9 hours driving than have to drive to parts all day, driving all day in Vancouver, making deliveries or something. I would rather, yeah, it's that bad. So it's saying it's 23% overvalued. Montreal real estate prices forecast for a correction. Home prices are 24.96% above the trend of Q2 2021. But unlike its other cities near this level, prices are forecasted to fall. And Canadian real estate price deviation from trend. There it is right there. Holy crap. There's the Niagara region up there, all the way down. And then you go into Saskatoon in the negatives here. Wow. Sunny Sherbrooke. And then you have Vancouver up here. And then you have all these corrections that are set to take place. This is outside of Toronto. These places got really overvalued too fast. Guelph, Barrie, Ottawa, Brantford, London. These places got too overvalued way too fast. And there is the over and undervaluation here. It's very simple to follow there. Niagara real estate is the most overvalued in Canada. That's 100%. And Saskatoon and Calgary real estate are the most undervalued. So you see it right here on the right there. And basically that's what's happening. So what is happening? Well, let's look here, man. Let's look at what I forecasted here. Toronto housing market on fire. Chinese money has arrived. So that's when, after 2017, when we put on the foreign home owners tax in Vancouver. Get out of Surrey, Burnaby, Vancouver. 25,000 vacant homes in Vancouver. Vancouver housing wave tsunami to hit Ontario. That's when we put on the foreign buyers tax, and everybody went to Ontario and Seattle and destroyed those two housing markets. Government out of housing. How will housing crash? How will housing crash in the West? Economy is dangerously dependent on real estate. New Zealand housing severely unaffordable. Property tax, second homeowners, Toronto real estate market out of control. And this is years ago, was already priced out. Housing powder keg, rest in peace, Vancouver middle class. So it just keeps going on and on. New Zealand ripoff, 1 million over asking, Australian 1950s brick home. It just doesn't end, guys. It just keeps going on. Hundreds of videos. I've been warning people of this economic takeover. That's why I called Amerifornia when Joe Biden was selected as president. Joe Biden needed to be selected for president of the United States because then they could clean up their ties with China, bring in more foreign money to buy out the middle class in America, corporations buying out housing there, BlackRock, Blackstone, whatever they're called, all basically there to buy up the real estate. And that's what's happening with Amerifornia, where America turns into entire California. So anyways, guys, housing is it's crazy overvalued. But people are saying, well, Mike, you left the city. You told us to leave the city. You bought a house for $260. And what if your house goes down to like 100? I didn't buy my house to make money. I bought my house to raise my family. Big difference. That's why they've been destroying families all over the English-speaking Western countries. That's why they're promoting more abortion. That's why they're promoting more of this division. So you don't have to have a house anymore. House doesn't belong to you. Oh, you work 3 jobs? Hey, you go pay your rent. Yeah, you pay someone else's mortgage off. You forgot that? You're paying off someone else's debt. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Lots of love. Big hug. God bless.